season's back. We're on hopefully another 9-month journey.
What we playing for? Box on 3, 1, 2, 3.
It's going to be a long process. It's going to be a long season, but it starts now.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, we're the heavy metal.
Can you give us a sneak preview of what you're going to be bringing us this year?
You'll see on opening night.
We have 100 games in front of us. The best player in the world is the last man standing.
Three-pointer.
Back at it. The NBA's opening week officially underway, and we're getting you set for a packed night, too, including a doubleheader on ESPN and the ESPN app. Ja Morant and the Grizzlies looking to run it back to the dark side, but can they make a deeper playoff run? They take on the Knicks and new point guard, that man right there, Jalen Brunson. We'll look ahead at that matchup, plus look back at opening night and how the Celtics and Warriors are already in mid-season form. You got all that and so much more coming to you live on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and the ESPN app as we welcome you into Hoop Streams, presented by Target. I'm Cassidy Hubbarth, alongside Israel Gutierrez in our Bristol studios. And we have Kendrick Perkins joining us from Houston. Perk, season 4 of Hoop Streams, back at it, OG. And we're welcoming Izzy to the show, his debut on Hoop Streams. I can't even believe that it's his debut.
I know, it's been like 4 years, and this is my first time in here, so I'm loving it.
What? Perk, are you feeling good?
I am. I'm feeling great, but let me say this. I am jealous. Y'all look real cozy over there. I'm loving the scenery, the whole background. I'm loving the whole energy, the whole vibe. The season is on. Hoop Streams is on. We back like we forgot something.
I mean, our producer, Jonathan Luna, he emptied his closet and put all his J's up here. I thought I smelled something, but we're going to move on
I'm about
from that.
to switch that with these Mambas right here.
That's exactly right. Later on, we got Ronnie 2K also joining the show. And I sit down with CJ McCollum, play a little game, and we got much more on him and the Pelicans ahead. But first, let's talk about what happened last night. All right, the Celtics, they had quite the pregame ceremony honoring the late, great Bill Russell. The Celtics front court of Tatum and Brown then picked up from where they left off last season, but Embiid wanted to spoil their hot night by just tussling with Marcus Smart. That was quite a battle inside the battle.
It was, and look, I mean, I love PJ Tucker, but if the Sixers' answer is just throw him at whatever player you want to stop, it's not going to be good enough.
And Smart, you know, that sequence was comedy at its finest, but then James Harden, he hit that ridiculous shot. But it was really the Celtics who turned things up in that second half as they won 126-117. And Perk, let's start with this. Look, with all the off-court drama surrounding the Celtics and Ime Udoka on his one-year suspension, what did you like about the way that the Celtics came out, specifically in that second half against the Sixers?
Well, I mean, I looked at it like this. Either the soap opera that's surrounding Ime Udoka was either going to bring the team more together, or it was going to cause separation. It was going to cause tension and adversity in the locker room. And I got to tip my hat off to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. These two young stars, not only are what they doing on the floor, but their leadership skills, the way that they're approaching the game, the way that they want to be leaders. And by the way, when we talk about the best duo in the NBA, it's both of those guys. Think about what they did last season.
The best
taking
duo
this team
in the
to
NBA? I have to make sure we underline both.
No, it's the best duo in the NBA. Don't come give me Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, because they haven't accomplished what those two individuals has accomplished. And they dropped that 30-piece wing dinner spicy last night, both of them. I got to tip my hat. And yes, I was on the record saying that they needed to break the Jays up. And then right after that, they went on one of the best regular season runs in NBA history.
Perk, all I can really do for the Celtics, I just give them a little round of applause and just wait for more, because all that drama and everything that happened to them, they're never going to be more prepared for a game than they were yesterday. Right. So it's just, congratulations. Brown got into his bag. Tatum got into his bag, and they got their 35. Not everything else looked great. Like, congrats to Noah Vonleh for, participating and being a backup that could somehow, help stop Joel Embiid or defend Joel Embiid. But that was not I have way more on the Sixers, way more opinions on the Sixers off of that one game than I do off the Celtics, because the Celtics formula, it's not that simple. You're not just going to get those two guys going for 35 every night. And so it's a lot more issues with the Sixers than I do with the Celtics. The Celtics were perfect for what they needed yesterday.
I agree. And we'll see the impact of Joe Mazzulla and just, and the lack thereof of Ime Udoka as the season goes along. But I did think that Jason and Jalen showed what they were able to do last season, get over that hump and find a way to work together and actually play alongside each other well. But we'll see how that develops over the season. But I do want to go right back to you. What are the issues with the Sixers? What did you notice?
So first of all, you look at their offense, right? And it's the first game of the year. Like, can we get some sort of creativity out here? Like, it's just a two-man game over and over and over again. And, if that's what you're going to be, look, if you look at this James Harden situation, Perk, he gave up money, right? He publicly sort of looks like the guy who has to get it done, right? He has a lot of pressure on him. And he lost all this weight, right? Or looks leaner, in better shape. What does that give him? It gives him license to dribble the ball 580 times in the opener and just try to be the man on this team. And I don't think that's what's best for this
580
team.
was an exaggeration, by the way.
It's not an exaggeration.
That's the actual count of the amount of times
it's like
dribbled.
Twice as much as anybody else did last night. And so that is not the formula. Like, bringing back Houston James Harden is not the formula to win beside Joel Embiid. And defensively, that's a whole nother thing. Like, this isn't playoff defense yet, don't get me wrong. But you can't just cover Jason Tatum without some sort of team effort. Like I said in the highlights, you can't just throw P.J. Tucker at him and say, okay, that guy's settled. Like, there's a lot more going on there. And so I don't know if Doc Rivers is just maybe not showing his cards early on. Who knows? But this isn't a team that I look at and say, okay, in the playoffs, that's definitively going to work. James Harden's going to be, back to some level of 18, 19 James Harden. I know it's just one game, but that does not look like a finals participant team to me.
Perk, I have a bold prediction about the Sixers that I'm going to get to later in the show, and I want to get your take there, because I do want to move on to the Lakers and Warriors, because they celebrated ring night last night. While Darvin Ham, he made his regular season coaching debut. LeBron, year 20. No signs of slowing down. AD, he had some moments, but it wasn't enough. The Warriors were hot from the field and came out with the W. But I want to not talk first about the game. I want to talk about the surrounding noise around this. Poole, after the game, he said that the healing was asked if the healing has begun, and he just wanted to focus on the game. Perk, do you feel like this ordeal is over and done with, and the Warriors can move on and, look like the championship team that they did last night?
I don't. I think it's still going to take time. I want to tip my hat off to Jordan Poole. Just the maturity, right? The guy that got punched in the face, the guy that was somewhat embarrassed that the public seen this video happen, and he handled this in great fashion. The way that he approached it, he didn't lash out. He got his money. And he came out last night and he performed. Yes, he didn't shoot the ball well, but the shots that he made were timely shots that was needed. His playmaking ability was off the charts last night. And I just want to tip my hat off to him for being a true professional and also showing up to work and producing last night, because the great Kevin Garnett always used to say, if you want to see how a player really is, watch how they act, or watch how they respond, or watch how they play after they get their lettuce. And Jordan Poole didn't disappoint a single soul with his performance last night.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Jordan, I got paid. I'm going to get my looks. I'm pretty much announced I'm going to be a future of the Warriors. This is on Draymond to figure out. This is on him to figure out how he's going to deal all season long with the possibility of not being on the Warriors long term, or whether he still brings those same things to this team. And obviously last year being a great example of that, but will it translate again this year? Will he be able to focus on winning a championship? Because the only thing, what Draymond brings as value is winning. You can't really put a number on on a statistic necessarily. It's win-win for the Warriors. If he's angry and he's trying to focus on, the only way he can get his is by this team winning at a high level again. So it's really on Draymond. Jordan, sit back and, get his looks and see what happens, because his part in this whole situation is done.
And if you can make up your mind after one game, which we tend to do at the beginning of the year, it's that the Warriors can run this thing back. I mean, they have the depth, they have the youth, they have the veterans, they have the bank, the payroll. So, I would not be surprised if they run this back. And their rings were really nice. But then there's then there's the Lakers. Did you hear this sound post-game from Russell Westbrook? He was asked about, coming off the bench and how his routine was disrupted. Take a listen to this.
I've been doing the same thing for 14 years straight. Honestly, I didn't even know what to do pregame. Being honest, I was trying to figure out and try to stay warm and loose. And for me, obviously the way I play the game, fast-paced, quick, stop and go. And I just happened to when I subbed in, I felt something, thought it was, didn't know what it was, but wasn't going to risk it in the preseason game. But definitely wasn't something I wasn't used to, wasn't warm enough. And that's something that I wasn't accustomed to.
Now, just for further context, he started last night, he was asked if coming off the bench disrupted his routine. But I just, it's more about just addressing this, just the vibes after that game. Perk, what are your thoughts?
Well, let me say this to Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook needs to realize that every GM and front office is watching him on and off the floor to see if he will be able to take a lesser role and embrace a lesser role. Russell Westbrook has a problem with accountability. Russell Westbrook has been making so many excuses and pointing the finger instead of looking himself in the mirror. And Russell Westbrook, if he doesn't change his approach, meaning his attitude, meaning where he is in his career, and accepting the fact that he's not the MVP Russell Westbrook could find himself looking out of the league next year, looking for a job and waiting on the phone call. He has to be very, very careful, and this is a year where all eyes are going to be on him. Not to come in and actually be a franchise player, but to come in and see if he could be a link to helping a team actually compete or win for a championship. And right now, he's not showing that.
I'm sure the way Westbrook probably sees it is if I go to the bench and that still doesn't work out, I might be out of the league anyway, so I might as well do what I know. But I'm with you, Perk. There's an accountability there. This isn't the first time he's sort of talked about an injury as a result of being on the bench, like when he didn't come into the game in that fourth quarter last season, talked about a back thing. It's clearly something that's kind of made up. It seems childish, right? He started in the opener, and so what I think is just a matter of not just accountability, but give yourself let the rest of the league know that you're giving yourself a chance to do this. Not just one game and complain because your hamstring, you didn't know how to warm up. Now, I will give you that. CJ McCollum's talked to me about that, about, the difference between starting and coming off the bench, knowing when to get your body warm or whatever. But attempt it, Russell. Give it a couple of weeks, rather than just, be stubborn and sort of hold your ground there. So that it's hard to argue with that. It seems like he's just sort of letting everybody know, hey, I probably don't want to be here. So the quicker you can get me out of here, the better for me.
I mean, between that and LeBron's comments post-game about just not having shooters around them, it's only the first game. And not sure if the Lakers are going to be good, but I know they're not going to be boring. That is for sure. We'll be talking about them a lot more on future Hoop Streams. But let's take a look now at who is breaking barriers, brought to you by Target. And we're recognizing the women of the game. So how about we kick things off with the champ, Becky Hammon. The heralded coach spent 8 seasons in the NBA as an assistant under Greg Popovich, ascending the ranks, even claiming a summer league win in 2015. In her first season as a WNBA coach, she led the Las Vegas Aces to a 26-10 record and the #1 seed in the playoffs. Hammon was named Coach of the Year and helped secure the Aces' first WNBA title this past summer. She's also the first WNBA coach in league history to win a title in her rookie season. I could go on and on and on about just what she's accomplished.
The question with her is always, hey, is it going to translate? Is she going to be an NBA head coach?
Yes.
And to me, I think the answer is yeah. And I don't think it's even, I think it's obvious because look, you're not just going to put any woman in this spot. Like, you're breaking barriers here. It's a thing, something that people have to wrap their minds around. You're going to get the best possible person for the job. And look at her resume already. Assistant coach in the NBA, the Summer League Championship, her first year she wins this. There's going to be so many successes where they're going to be like, oh yeah, we have to give you a chance in the NBA because you're just this good at it. And so she's going to be the one. I don't think there's any question.
Her quickly, you think we're seeing in the NBA?
I do, and I just want to give y'all an example of the impact of women coaching in the NBA. Teresa Weatherspoon had a job opportunity where she could have took the Phoenix Mercury head coaching job, and she turned that down because of her relationships and because of the way the players love her in New Orleans. That speaks volumes. Zion Williamson loved Teresa Weatherspoon to death. So what that tells me is whatever a man coach could do, a woman can also come in and get the same respect, same attention, and have the same type of effect that a man can. And yes, I do see Becky Hammon at one day being the first time NBA coach for us as a woman.
In the meantime, she's just going to continue to rack up these WNBA championships. Her and Natalie Nakase are assistant coach as well.
She did that.
And as we put a bow on the WNBA season, let's look ahead to the NBA season. We wanted to give our viewers a chance to hold us accountable at the end of the season when we're on the road in the playoffs with a little segment we like to call Print the Receipts.
Clearly remember some experts and talking heads putting up the...
I hope the world can see now what's really going on out here, because it's getting ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
I love the fact that he keeps his receipts. Draymond keeps his receipts.
That's a CVS receipt, is
a
what
short
that
CVS
is.
receipt.
All right, give me your bold prediction.
So my bold prediction is Jimmy Butler is going to be the Heat's third leading scorer this year. And the reason I say that, it's kind of a way to say that, hey, they're probably going to get to the finals, if not win a championship. They need to be better than last year. For them to be better, Bam Adebayo's offense has to be better. Tyler Hero's offense has to be better. And look at their numbers just from last year. They weren't that different. And so Jimmy, he's not the guy he needs in the playoffs. That's not the guy he needs to be every night in the regular season. He knows that. He's fine distributing to these other guys, letting Bam get some confidence offensively. And when that happens, this team's going to be set for the playoffs because you've got Jimmy, Michael Jordan, Butler going into the playoffs, and then you've got these other guys who are a lot more comfortable in
And the
their
fact that
roles.
we're going to see the dreadlock Jimmy for the rest of the season is fantastic. Perk, your bold prediction.
Yeah. But come on, Israel, if you go give a bold prediction, you got to jump off the porch, run across the street, and hop over the fence. My bold prediction, I got the Los Angeles Clippers winning the NBA championship this year.
What?
When you talk
So
about
many people
the
do.
depth,
Right?
Yes,
How bold is that,
Yes,
Perk?
I do. When you talk about the depth, right, at the wing position, I'm talking about Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Nicholas Batum, Marcus Morris, Norman Powell, and then they have the combination between Reggie Hot Sauce Jackson and John Wall, and they have the big fella Zubac. And here's the key. They have one of the best, if not the best head coach in the game in Tyronn Lue. They have all the pieces. They have all the support. They have everything that they need, and the Clippers will win the NBA title this season. You could book it.
Okay, so Perk, I cut you off earlier, so I'm going to give my bold prediction. I'm going to get out of the way. My bold prediction, the Sixers are coming out of the East. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm going to tell you why you right.
Ooh.
This is why you're right. Yes, James Harden, right? James Harden made the sacrifices that he needed to this offseason. We didn't see James Harden in the club. We didn't see James Harden popping bottles. We saw James Harden working out. We saw him in the lab. We saw him dieting. We saw him having a camaraderie with his teammates. And with the addition of P.J. Tucker, Montrezl Harrell, along with having a fourth option guy in Tobias Harris, they are so deep they could compete with anyone. And I have the ultimate faith in my Mbutu brother, Doc Rivers.
Okay, so it's Sixers, Clippers. We're going to see it in the finals. That's our day 2 prediction.
Make sure the receipts show that I have no part of that Sixers prediction, please.
Okay. Also, I just wanted to talk to you guys about we got a new show on ESPN Plus called NBA Cross Court. Me and Roz Gold on Woode are hosting it, and we have a full sit down with CJ McCollum. Where we play a little game. We're going to show you a quick clip of that. But Izzy, you also have a show with CJ McCollum.
Yeah, CJ McCollum, the CJ McCollum Show. It's our podcast where it's actually working on episode 4 this coming week. Episode 3 is dropping on Thursday, so tomorrow. So yeah, it's going to be all season long. CJ's a great talker. I can't wait to just chop it up with him all year long.
Talk about a dual athlete, and let's take a look at my.
Look at
I
you
know we're
too.
doing things. We're doing things,
you
Perk.
too.
You know, you're not the only one with a podcast, Swagoo and Perk. Let's take a look at what CJ and I had to talk about. Oh man, we are joined by Pelicans guard CJ McCollum. And CJ, we're bringing you on to play a little game called What Happened Next. Starting off back in the 2019 Summer League, Knicks and Pelicans. Kevin Knox pulls down the rebound here, but here's a hint as we just pause it. Knox is not the star of this play. So what happens next, CJ?
Zion uses his Thanos strength, as we like to call it, rips the ball from him like he's a child, and then he does what he does best after that.
Roll it. Yep, give me that. Give me that. You're absolutely right. And I don't know if you remember this, but then a earthquake happened. So he basically caused an earthquake with that just absolutely manhandling of of Kevin Knox. Look though, like you are, rocking with him every day. Where does Zion rank in terms of like physical strength among any teammates you've had?
I mean, his strength is different. Like the way he moves people in the court, I haven't seen that before. Nurk is really strong, right? The way Nurk moves people is different. So I would say in terms of how they move people on the court, like him and Nurk are the strongest that I've seen.
So let's hit up the second play. And this one should look a little familiar, CJ. 2016 Thunder Blazers. Steven Adams is going to
pause it now. I know what happens.
An air ball here and look to fire it down the court with time winding down to the third. So what happens next here?
I come out of nowhere like Diggs from the Cowboys, and I intercept it. And I take, maybe one dribble. Since it's 2.7 seconds left, I guess you can get a dribble a second. Quick release, leaning, Cash Money Records to end the quarter.
Give me that. Roll it.
There I am like Diggs. Cash Money Records.
And we're now joined tonight by Ronnie 2K, the face of NBA 2K, for today's ratings update. First and foremost, thank you for joining us, and also congratulations, because we hear you got married last weekend, so we appreciate it. I know you're probably worn out from what was probably a great weekend, but thank you for joining us, Ronnie.
I'm so glad to be here. Yeah, definitely 7 days. I think it was like 9 events in 7 days, so I'm definitely a little worn out, but I'm really excited to talk hoops with you guys.
I mean, me and Perk are decades into the marriage game, so we're not going to do the whole, do you feel different being a husband?
I would love some advice, though.
We're also not going to get into the pressures of marriage with you. What we do want to talk to you about is the pressures of being Ronnie 2K. And I want to start with, how much pressure do you feel when you're playing the game against your friends and, feeling like you need to win?
It's a tough one. I mean, obviously, as the face of 2K, you would expect me to win a lot of games and play a lot. But, as the game has gotten bigger, there's been more, promotional stuff that we have to do and trade stuff. So I'm not as good as I used to be. I played, I was in the top 10 on the leaderboards all the way back in 2005. I mean, I stayed very, very competitive for years. But now, as the business has grown and our audience base has gotten younger, there are definitely players that are better than me. But in my friend circle, I'm definitely the best, so I'm not worried about that.
Perk, I know your kids want to talk to Ronnie 2K. What's going on with them?
Well, I mean, everything is going on with them. First of all, they are addicted to NBA 2K. They don't care nothing about anything else in life. But Ronnie, I want to ask you this, okay? Right, you get a lot of criticism from players about their ratings and things to that nature, but you are a celebrity, okay? And I want to know, when you go out and about and you're out and about just doing your everyday thing, do kids and teenagers come up to you and talk to you about the video game? And do you have to, like, have you ever had any type of arguments or disagreement with some children, behind the NBA 2K game or
Sure.
whatever the case may be?
No, I mean, look, for our game to mean so much, our community is like so huge, right? Like it's like NBA players that are the top guys in the league, all the way down to kids that are learning about basketball for the first time. And I appreciate, being in that role where this basketball game has meant so much to so many people and has been a platform for education. Even, like Mark Cuban says all the time, like it's teaching kids about the NBA in a way that other, titles just aren't, which is really cool. In terms of your question, though, like I love that conversation. Definitely kids come up to me all the time and they want to talk about that. But mostly they're asking for VC or logos or player upgrades. And but I mean, again, it's just like these amazing people in our community that care so much about our game.
Well, Ronnie, take us through your process as we throw up the top overall players this year. How do you come up with this list, and why is Giannis ranked #1 this season?
Yeah, we have a couple of guys that work on the rating, the real formula, and we want to like stay very strict and nascent to it. So obviously, yeah, Giannis is our #1 at 97. It's the first year that LeBron hasn't been #1 in I want to say like 13 years. He's held that mantle. Definitely one of the even ESPN, you guys had him drop all the way. I believe it was so. We definitely when you're on that throne, like it's hard to pass, but it was time for us to crown a new #1, and that's Giannis. A lot of guys right here at that 96 number, including former MVPs like Jokic and Steph, and a future MVP probably in Joel Embiid. And then Luka Doncic, one of the up-and-coming guys. He was our cover athlete before, rounded off by Kawhi Leonard. And then, yeah, the young guys all right here, John Morant, Jason Tatum, and Jimmy, all three right there. I expect big things from the two young guys here to move up on that list. Definitely expecting really good things. We do a simulation every year, and our simulation actually has Jason Tatum as the MVP this year, and Ja as the NBA Finals MVP, with the Grizzlies winning in 7 over the 76ers. So I think that's
really.
What do you think of that, Perk?
And Ronnie, I love it. I love it because look, we're gonna talk about it a little later in the show. But Ronnie, I want to ask you this: when it comes down to role players getting their ratings, how do y'all rate the role players? Like, I need to know this because I never got past a 77, and I didn't understand that for the life of me, even when I was the starting center on the 2008 championship team. So I need some explaining out of you.
Well, I will tell you, like, a lot of people see 80 as one of these things that, like, is a hurtful thing. But, there's only, I want to say there's only, like, 70-ish guys that are 80+. So it's not even, like, a role player type thing. A mid-70s rating is actually a very good rating. We're measuring against historical all-time ratings. That's one thing that people, like, aren't as aware of. Like, another game, Madden, right, like, has 13 99s. But that's also because they're measuring in current times. We're going against history. There's only one player that's a 99 in the game on a current team, and that's 95-96 Michael Jordan. And I think that there'd be no disagreement there, right? So then everybody else has to fall in line. Like if Giannis is 97, then that means everybody has to fall in line after that. So role players, a 70 is not a bad rating. It looks like a C-. I mean, we're all educated in school to think that that's like a low rating, but it's actually not. It's actually a very solid rating.
Well, Perk, you're not the only one who has issues with his rating. Klay Thompson took exception to when you were on NBA Today this week. He later apologized. We then saw your post to Clay's apology, but what did you make of Clay's reaction to you this week?
Well, look, I mean, I said, and I've said this all along, Clay lives right down the street from me. Like, we've always been very friendly. And we see each other. So, like, that was a little surprising that I was so much on his mind in Japan. So, like, that really caught me off guard at 3 in the morning. But he is a tremendous, tremendous player. Definitely all-time great shooter. Again, it's one of those things, like, he's in 88, right? He had kind of a rough second half last year, but that's the second highest, tied for second highest three-point shooting in this year's title, which means, like, that's an 88 seems like low for the second best shooter, but who he has to blame is his own teammate, because his teammate, Stephen Curry, in the last 10 years has made 10% more threes than any of these guys. So at a certain point, we had to make the ratings show that delta, right? Like, if Steph's a 99, guess what? If everybody's starting 10% lower, that means the highest ratings in 88. And so that's where that came from. I think if you look at that number and you're like, I'm the second best shooter, how can an 88 be the number? You get it, but then with that much context, I think he saw that and he was like, oh, maybe I was a little out of pocket. I'm glad to put that behind us, because I think Clay is a tremendous player, and I'm very excited to see his full year return this year. I think he's gonna have a great year.
Well, I like that, Ronnie. But let me tell you something. Every day that I wake up, okay, Ronnie, Cassidy, every day that I wake up, I have to deal with people coming up to me saying that I'm a hater, that I'm always hating on my players. So, Ronnie, you and I got to have a conversation. I love my role on the video game, but I might want to switch it up, because I can't be hating on people that's dropping 40.
Okay.
You guys holding real estate in people's heads is just a testament to both of your success. I mean,
That's
both
right.
of you have such a place in NBA culture. It's just facts.
Hey, KP, you're living rent-free, bro. Like, what are you worried about?
That's exactly right.
Crushing it.
Ronnie 2K, the face of NBA 2K, thank you so much for joining us on Hoop Streams. Appreciate it.
You, Ronnie.
Get some rest.
Always a pleasure to see you guys. It's been too long. Hopefully I see you real soon.
And we're just about minutes away from tip-off between the Knicks and Grizzlies. John Morant getting set to see if they can, take the league by storm again. It's great to always see Derrick Rose out there. Hopefully he can have a healthy season. Perk, let's start with you. What do you think of this matchup?
I'm going with the Memphis Grizzlies. Look, I like the addition of Jalen Brunson, but I'm staying on the dark side. John Morant told me he's going for the MVP. He's on a mission. The Memphis Grizzlies say they got a lot to prove. I'm going with Memphis at home.
John might have to get in line for that MVP. Look, I like the Grizzlies in this game. I'm intrigued by the Knicks just in this respect. Like, RJ Barrett's such a good human being, and so I kind of want him to do really good and live up to this contract. Yeah. He needs to be efficient for the Knicks to be really good. When they were good a couple years ago, 40%, 44 from the field, 40 from three, he needs to be a little bit better than that. And next to Jalen Brunson, I think he's going to give him the space to do it. And so I'm very much intrigued by what RJ can do this year.
The praises being showered on Jalen Brunson right now and his impact on the Knicks. I am interested to see how that comes to fruition. I do like the combo of Jalen starting point guard and Derrick Rose kind of commanding as the backup point guard, and his veteran presence. He already said that he looks up to and admires Jalen Brunson, so that's quite a statement. I'm also picking the Grizzlies, though. So we're all picking the Grizzlies. We will see what happens tonight, as you can tune in to Knicks Grizzlies on ESPN. You can also watch it live on the ESPN app, just logging into your cable providers now. That's going to do it for our first edition of Hoop Streams of Season 4. Thanks for watching Hoop Streams, presented by Target. We'll be back.
Big year.
Big year. The NBA is back. Thanks for watching, guys.